Hey guys, we are here today in Valheim, and I have recently seen a lot of awesome looking tree houses built, and thought to myself, yeah, I'm not gifted enough to make that. So if you're like me, and need a little swamp outpost, but are not interested in living here, or building a giant tree house, this is a small tree house that you can build with some basic circular building, and it's just enough to hold a portal, some chests, a workbench, and then a bed and working fireplace and chimney. Bare minimum that you would need in a very compact setting. That way you can store a bunch of raw ore here and then have it in somewhere safe, long enough for you to bring out your boat and transfer it to your main base. The goal on this is efficiency and quickness, because I hate the swamp. So we're going to get in here, build this, and get out before one of these creatures kills Guy. You are going to need approximately 600 wood for this building, which is including some of the added accessories, workbenches, and some torches in the area so you can see a little better. And then I will also be bringing along enough Surtling cores and Great Orf Eyes and other things like that in order to build myself things like a portal back to the main base. And you'll see the first thing I'm going to do is build a small little hut to house a workbench, that way I can repair my hammer out here in the swamp. And then I'm going to put a portal, that way I can teleport back to the base to get the rested buff or grab more wood instead of having it all stored here. And since we are in the swamp, it is going to be kind of terrible on the lighting, but I will try to keep it daytime as much as possible, and I've thrown some torches around to hopefully help out with that. Once you have selected one of the trees in the swamp that cannot be cut down, you're going to pick where you want the back end of your little treehouse to be, and we're going to place a 2-meter log beam horizontally across it, roughly in the middle from side to side. And we want to go about 2 blocks high so that it's not in the reach of any creatures that are walking around here. And once we place it, it will gain foundation quality because it's touching the tree. Then we're going to go from the side of that and do 1 click towards the tree on rotation on each board we place. And then every 4 beams from it, 1, 2, 3, and then on that 4th one, we're going to put straight ones off of it into the tree. And you might have to toy around with these a little bit because they do start losing quality, and make sure that they get connection to the tree in whatever way you have to, because obviously it's not going to be the same style of tree for you. And then we're just going to circle around the entire tree like that. Every 4th beam, we are going to place those straight braces. That way you have these little triangle wedges like this, and then straight alleyways. And you can see here as I'm building it that we are losing too much strength and quality there, so I can see where my straight beams are supposed to be across it. So I'm just gonna place those first and then connect the circular one. And then as we get around the back, there will be no horizontal beams going to the tree since we're already contacted there in the back. And you can see that the strength, because we're touching the tree in so many locations, is pretty good except for the corners of those little wedges. And what you can do there is either place straight pieces off of it, and because it's reading that those are connecting to those other sections of the beam, it actually increases the quality. Or you can take angled pieces under it and run them into the tree, and then that will increase its quality as well. Alright, and once we got that little ring laid out, we are going to put 2 ladders flat on whichever spot we want our door to land on, and then we're going to place a wood floor and ladders going off the side of that into the ground on either side. And then we are going to floor it. So you want to start going down, straight down each of your 2x2 openings. And then we will do the angled sections. What you want to do on this is start in the one on the very center, flat, and place 2. And it's going to clip through the floor a little bit. And then after you do that, place the 2 angle ones, and that will cover pretty much every gap you have in the floor. Alrighty, once we get that bottom layer done, we're going to go ahead and line the entire place with 1.5 high walls. And then you can either use a door and a half piece above it, or like I'm going to do, place a gate at your entrance. Alright, and once we are 1.5 walls high, we are going to go ahead and copy our floor pattern with the beams. You can see on the door we have those straight wood pieces going to the tree. We're going to do the same thing for second level. And then we're going to create a staircase up to the second level by picking whichever one of these openings you want, of these straight 2x2 openings, and place 2 1x1 squares along the edge of the building, and then place side-by-side ladders right in front of it. And then we're going to run the ladders one more row down, and these will protrude out the bottom, but they will be going into the tree, so it won't be very noticeable. And then you'll just be able to climb right up those to the second level. And then to floor right next to the ladders, we are going to do the flat piece in the middle of that wedge section. And then we're going to take 1x1s and run them right in that other opening, and then run one right along the beam next to the stairs to close that little small gap we have. And if we continue running a second board like we did on the bottom floor, it will cut through our stairs. So instead, we're just going to flip that board flat with the beams and place it in the corner. And then we can return to normal for the rest of the upper level once we get around the stairs. Then we will line the entirety of the second level with 1.5 high walls. And then we will select a spot for our fireplace and chimney on this second level, which I'm going to go way over in this corner next to the tree, and place a back wall, and I'm going to leave no sidewall on it. That way it's a little bit bigger of an opening. And it's really easy to build scaffolding to work higher up on these tree houses because everything you connect to the tree is foundation. So you have no issues making whatever you want to get up higher and work on the chimney. And then we are going to go ahead and do all 4 sides on this next level high. And I am just going to go this one level higher than the rest of the building, and then go ahead and add my posts and half walls to the top of the chimney. And then to finish off the top, I'm going to set wood beams on both sides of it, and then slap a cross on the back, an angled roof piece, and a cross on the front. And then you can pretty that thing up with some posts in the corners and get it looking how you want. Once the chimney is done, we are going to take the 26-degree angled wood pieces and follow our floor pattern just like we did for the first floor and the second floor, and run angled ones into the tree to guide our roof. Once those are in place, we're going to do it very similar to the floor and run between those braces first all the way up into the tree at each spot. And the roof is actually very simple to do from the interior. You don't have a lot of issues with clipping. And then on these angled sections, exactly like we did the floor, we'll run on the middle piece first, too high, making sure it clicks on correctly, and then pop in the 2 angle ones. And it doesn't really leave any gaps. Alright, because of the chimney, you will have to get on the outside to roof that section, so we're just going to kind of create scaffolding with some ladders on the edge of our building until we can climb all the way up. And work our way around that side. That did not line up. And then run some roofing pieces just on the back end here. And once the roof is all squared away, we're going to place a canopy on here. We need to do the 45-degree roofing for this in order for it to match up look-wise with our stairs and not be at different angles. So we're going to place a peak piece over our door. Make sure you don't clip it to where it's slightly in the door, but you clip all the way over it and do 2 out. And then we're going to run some posts at the corner of our little landing. And it's going to be about 2.5 high, and go ahead and connect them all the way to the roof. And then we're going to take 45-degree angle pieces off of both of those, just one spacing down, and then connect the corners of our ladder stairs to them, again with 2.5 pieces. And then we are going to close up the stairs with some fancy work, doing a half wall in the front, and then we'll take a 45-degree angle piece and try and attach it to where it lines up even with that half wall. Close in underneath it with a half wall on either side and then a full piece between them. Same 45-degree angle piece on the back ends. You can see this one is not clipping correctly, so what we're going to do is stick a sideways beam across the stairs. That way we have something to aim at and hook to, and then we can dump that beam. And then you can continue those angle pieces all the way up to the door and get some railing on the stairs. And then we'll begin to close in underneath those. And then before we completely close it, I had read that the ward actually lowers the damage that creatures deal to your buildings, not just locking doors and stuff from players. And I have not tested this myself or proven it, but you know what? We're in the swamp. If that works, we're putting a ward in here just to help out, because the swamp is horrible. And then we got our closed in little staircase there. You can run through and do more pretty work if you'd like, with some beams across the front and some angled parts on the front of those stairs and make it look all nice. And then you will notice with this whole build that the ladders are kind of tough to go up if you go on the sides, and they have this weird feeling to them. But if you walk directly in the center of them, it's a little smoother. But hopefully the ladders also prevent creatures from having as easy of a time coming around here. And the last thing we need to do is place ourselves a campfire. So the two options for this is to have a stone cutter down in the area, and then you're going to remove the centerpiece under the campfire and place a 2x2 stone floor. And because it is contacting part of the tree, it will not bust, and then you can place a campfire on top of it. And if you prefer, you can then delete the stone piece and place a wooden piece back under it now that the campfire is there. It is obvious though that this is not what the developers intended, so we are going to try a different method here. And instead we are going to place down a forge. We're going to take a little 1-meter wood beam and place it in the chimney coming off the center of the wall, so that we can hook a brazier to the bottom end of it. And the only real issue you might run into with this chimney is these angled 26-degree wood pieces you can see would cut into the chimney, a little bit restricting some airflow. So what you can do is place a horizontal 1x1 beam and then attach it to that to where it is away from the chimney, like that, and then you just leave a small sliver gap into the house, which shouldn't be too big a deal. And the reason we are going to try the brazier in this little outpost here is it does give you the fire buff, it does give you resting, and you can place cooking stations above it still, even though you got to find weird ways to attach them, and it will in fact cook food. So this may have even been the designed method for a treehouse or a second-story fireplace, is actually using the brazier as your fire as opposed to a campfire, and having to rig up some ways to place campfire up in a tree. Alright guys, there you go, a small swamp treehouse outpost that just has the bare essentials if you're like me and don't have the time to build a giant place in the swamp. Thanks for joining me on this installment of Building for Squares. I will see you next time.